Hi, I'm Mike Beliveau, and today I'm down in the studio, and I'm going to give you an update on what's going on here at Duelist Den. Now, I have to be perfectly honest. This was not the video I intended to give you this week. That's the video I can give you this week. My original intention was to give you a video on the combat effectiveness of chewed balls in 18th century forest warfare. But that's just not going to happen this week for a variety of reasons. And in no small part because it was actually a more complex video to research and put on than I expected it to be. Which I'm not sure if that'll come across when you see the video, but it was actually quite a bit of work, and I simply couldn't get it all done. And there are some reasons why I couldn't get it all done. And I just thought I'd share those with you today. So, you guys probably saw a couple of weeks ago my video on the double action Star revolver. Which did very well. I think you guys liked it quite a bit. I had fun making it. Unfortunately, when I was on my way home, I was on the interstate, minding my own business about a mile from my exit, when traffic came to a complete stop. So there was a lady in front of me, and she stopped safely. I hit my brakes. I stopped safely behind her. I heaved a sigh of relief, and wham! I got hit like Thor's hammer by a huge high-vac tradesman's van that came barreling up behind me and just slammed the living crap out of me. And actually knocked me forward into that lady's car. Now, luckily or unluckily, I was standing on my brake at the time because we had just stopped. So I didn't hit her very hard at all, put a little crease in her bumper. But of course, because I was standing on the brake, I was an immovable object when I got hit by Thor's hammer. So my truck took a beating. Now, I was able to drive away, which I have to say, and perhaps this is wrong of me to feel this way, but I was gratified that the guy who hit me had to be towed because the entire front of his van was destroyed. And like I said, mine was drivable, and I mean, it looked bad, but I didn't think it was going to be that bad. So I spent the next week and a half, 2 weeks dealing with my insurance company. And I did not make out too well. So they were willing to give me very little money for it, because, and I understand, it's 13 years old. Besides the damage it's easy to see, it had frame damage. The entire bed was going to have to be replaced. And then the frames had some rust in them. And because of that, they were not willing to pay hardly any money for the truck. So I got a small settlement, and then I had no truck. So I had to find a truck, which I did. And this is it, and it's a beauty. As most of you know, in today's economy, because of supply chain issues and rampant inflation, because of supply chain issues, new trucks are almost impossible to get. And the prices are often 20% above MSRP to get one. I've seen new trucks for $90,000. Just absolutely crazy. So, of course, I was looking at used trucks. Me and everybody else in America. So used truck prices are unbelievable. Pardon me. And the availability, quite poor. So I was going to a local dealership. They had a truck, because I did want another F-150. I've had F-150s for 25 years, 2 trucks. They've done me very well. In fact, this blue truck I was planning on keeping. I've had it for 13 years. I was planning on keeping it for 20. And I had already made an appointment to go in and have that rust welded up in the frame. So it was going to be in December. They were going to pull the bed off, weld it up. I was going to be good to go for another five or 6 years with that truck easily. But but not now. So I got to the dealership. I was going to go look at the one vehicle they had, a 2017 model, 70,000 miles, which is not bad for 2017, and for a ridiculous amount of money. And while we were walking back there, the salesman, very nice guy, said, "You know, Mike, last night we got 10 brand new F-150s in." He said, "First big delivery we've had in quite a while." He said, "We haven't even inspected them or tagged them yet." He said, "But do you want to take a look at one?" And I did. Because as it turned out, I paid just a little bit above what I was going to pay for that 2017 model. And I was able to get a 2022 with a full warranty and only 20 miles on it. I just had to wait for it to be inspected and to be tagged and marked up and the whole bit. But I was able to get a new truck for MSRP. Now, typically, I go in, I negotiate with the dealers. I go to Edmunds, I learn everything, blah, 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 blah. So I typically get a good deal on trucks. That doesn't happen anymore. As this guy said, he said, "Look, if you don't want this one, there's 10 guys standing behind you who want it." He said, "I won't have it for the rest of the day. It'll be gone." And I know that's true, so I bought it. And I like it. But that ate up an incredible amount of my time for the last week. And I've had some minor health issues as a result of the accident that are getting better. I ended up, and it didn't happen right away. It took a couple of days. I ended up with a bad case of vertigo. If I stood up or got out of bed too quickly, I had to grab something right away. The whole room was spinning around, and I would just go right down. It was actually pretty frightening. So I assumed something in my inner ear got knocked out of kilter when I got whacked. But that's actually getting quite a bit better now. It's not 100%, but it's quite a bit. I'm obviously on the mend on that, so I'll be okay. It's been just no fun. So I went from having my whole fall mapped out and planned to having it wrecked in a heartbeat. And for the first time in over 20 years, I have a monthly truck payment now. Even though I put more money down on this truck than I spent buying my last truck for cash. So, but them's the breaks. That's the modern times. We can thank our political leaders for that, I think, for the inflation being so insane. So, anyway, I got a new truck. I don't want to dwell on the politics of it. But that just ate up a lot of my time. I really couldn't get much done. And that's what led to that Site Pusher Tool video last week, which I have to say you all avoided in droves. It's the worst performing video I've ever had. And then I got a number of private comments and public comments saying I'm leaving the channel because of this modern crap, which I think is a little extreme, I have to tell you, because it was a good video. It just wasn't historical. But it was the only one I had time to do. So, but I learned my lesson, so you're not getting another one of those now. You're going to get this, and if you don't watch it, that's fine. The other thing that happened, that just happened, but we were in the negotiating stages, is we have a new addition to our family. And those of you who have been around for a long time here on the channel know that Mary Pat and I had 2 dogs. Cody, our German short-haired female, and Axel, our German wire-haired male, and that we pheasant hunt with them, and we've had them for years, and they were marvelous dogs. And just shy of 2 years ago, they both died in the same winter. Cody, completely unexpected, a freak accident that broke our hearts. And Axel, because we knew he had hip dysplasia for years, though he had done well with it, but we knew the time would come when he wouldn't be able to stand up anymore. And of course, that time came. So it took quite a while for us to reach the point where we could open up to having another puppy. But that point's here. And we picked him up yesterday. He is Amish bred, but not from a puppy mill. He was bred on a beautiful farm in Amish country. I mean, beautiful. It was a gorgeous drive out there to get them. They were harvesting corn while we were there with huge teams of Percheron horses. And they had the one litter. They have just a breeding pair. Like I say, it's not a puppy mill. And we selected a puppy that they were calling Chaco because he's so dark. However, his new name, his AKC name, is Wolfgang Dakota Scout. And his field name is Scout. And Scout's the youngest dog we ever brought home. I mean, he's just 8 weeks old. Very small. Everything in life is new to him. He just left his brothers and sisters and mom that he's been all cuddled up with for the last 8 weeks. So he's adjusting to home and doing quite well, I have to say. So Mary Pat's going to be training him, obedience training, and then bird hunting training. He's a standard poodle, and they are smart as whips. My aunt used to have one named Pierre, one of the smartest dogs I ever knew. So we're going to get Scout trained up and hunt pheasants with him. So that's been kind of a busy part of our life as well. So those are the things that have been kind of slowing me up for the last couple of weeks. But I do have, I think, some interesting things planned that I've been working on different parts of. And long as we're here, I'll share them with you. You already know about some of them. So you already know about some of them. And if you follow me on Facebook, you'll know about others. One of the most exciting, because I've wanted something like this for a long time, is I have a Colt second generation 1851 Navy. This is the Robert E. Lee commemorative set, 1971. It is a box set. Colt second generation. These are early second generations. I know a lot of people think that the Colt second and third generation guns are just hopped up birdies with better finishes. That is not true at all. The Signature series, that would be true of. But the actual second generation guns are not, though there are a couple of subgroups of that. But this gun, this set, are the ones that were actually made at Colt's plant. And some of the rough forgings come from Italy, and I'm going to explain what that really means, because it doesn't mean to say it looks like a barrel, it looks like a cylinder. It looks like a bar of metal with some marks on it. It's quite different than people assume. It's not like it's just a little finishing work. I mean, they have to be completely machined. So anyway, got that. And you're going to get 2 videos on that. There'll be a first look video. There'll probably be the next video that I will do. And then there's going to be an in-depth video on the development of the gun, what's made by Colt, what came from Italy, significance of it, and some shooting. So I'm very much looking forward to that. I've wanted an early second generation Navy for quite a while. I wasn't necessarily looking to get a commemorative. Generally, I don't care for commemoratives. But these were done in kind of matching sets. You could have got 2. You could get the Robert E. Lee one like this, or you could get a very similar set that was the Ulysses S. Grant commemorative. And those are commemoratives that I can get on board with. They're not gaudy. They don't have a lot on them that makes them commemoratives. They're just really excellent representations of these revolvers. So looking forward to that. Probably in between those two, the first look and the detailed one on the second generation Colt, I'm going to do the video on the combat effectiveness of chewed balls in 18th century forest warfare. And I rather hope that you guys enjoy that. I enjoyed making it, and it took me a couple of days of shooting to do it. And my my views on the matter changed completely between day 1 and day 2. It's kind of interesting. So I'm going to go over that with you, and there'll be a little flintlocking in the woods. Always fun. Now, one of the other things I did is I was looking to get a Smith carbine. As you know, the last couple of years, I've kind of gotten on these Civil War rifles, Sharp's breech loader, the Whitworth front stuffer. And I've been interested in the Smith carbine, and Pieta had a replica of that that's been quite popular. So my plan was to get one of those. And of course, the way the supply chain's been working, people are just selling out of everything they had, and they're waiting for other shipments to come in. So basically, there is not a Pieta Smith carbine to be had in the United States, unless you were to find somebody selling one used and you got lucky. But none of the distributors seem to have them. I've talked to everybody. And in fact, I missed out on probably the last one that Taylor's had because of back and forth with their PR company, which is a story in itself. It's not really their fault. They just kind of misunderstood me. They thought I wanted a Smith & Wesson revolver clone, when Smith carbine is pretty specific. And they only had 3 left, and they were gone by the time I got my request in. So I bought an original. And I actually found one for a pretty good price. I mean, not much more than a reproduction. And in really good shape. But, I mean, no matter how good a shape they're in, unless, somebody cleaned it properly and put it away never to touch it again, you always have some issues. So this gun's got a frozen nipple, and the nipple's worn out. So I want that out of there. And the flash channel is obstructed. It's just packed up with crud. So I sent it off to David Stavlow at Lodgewood Manufacturing, and I asked him to take care of those 2 issues, and to also do a trigger job on it, and to put a taller front sight on so I can get it sighted in for 50 yards myself. So that's off to David right now, and when I get that back, I've got the cartridge cases. It has a very interesting, kind of unique cartridge. So I'm kind of looking forward to putting those together and showing them to you. And we're going to go shoot that baby. And I'll go through the history of it and how to load it and how to shoot it. And I think that's going to be fun. So you can expect a few Smith carbine videos in the future, hopefully before the snow flies. Then, I almost hesitate to do this. I've gotten a number of requests for it after doing the Colt Single Action Army, the evolution of the Colt Single Action Army. I've gotten several requests to do the same thing for Colt's 1911. And at first I thought, I'm not going to do that, because I will just get cacked out by guys on here who say, modern gun, modern gun, modern gun, modern gun. And then I thought, well, that's really not true. I mean, it's still around, but so's the Single Action Army, right? Now, admittedly, it's used probably more heavily for self-defense today than the Single Action Army. Not to say I don't know people who carry a Single Action Army today for self-defense, because I do. But it has an interesting story behind it. And particularly the story of the development of the gun and of the 1907 trials to set the new Army standard service pistol, which of course Colt eventually won, but pretty close competition with Savage of all companies. But luckily, a number of years ago, I was able to go through the NRA's collection of 1907 trial guns. So I know a bit about this subject, and I think maybe we can have some fun with it. That you can see some things you've never seen, and you can see what the Colt looked like before it was the Colt that we know today, which is a vast improvement over the original trials gun, by the way. So I've decided I'm going to do that, and I think that's going to be fascinating, and I hope you think so too. And I also think I'm going to do one, because I've been asked this quite a bit, on the evolution of the 1851 Navy. And, there's a little bit more to the development of the Navy than people think. And when you look at it, most people would say, well, there was a flat back trigger guard, like a Dragoon trigger guard, and then an oval trigger guard. And that's pretty much it. And actually, there are a lot of subtle differences besides that. There are differences in the loading lever catch over time. There are actually 3 trigger guards, which people don't realize. There's that flat-backed Dragoon one, and there's a large oval and a small oval. And there are other differences as well. So I think I may do a video going through that. And of course, I've got an original, so we can pull that out and we can see exactly what characteristics that has. And I can tell you how those change over time. So, I don't know. I think that might be interesting. And then I got a couple of sword videos planned for when the opportunity arises. Well, that's what's going on here at Duelist Inn. Next week, I think we'll be taking a first look at that Robert E. Lee commemorative. That should be interesting. So I hope you'll tune in. And until then, bye.